Have you ever thought about whether your words help or hurt your relationships? In this video, we'll explore how the power of words can transform our most important connections, both for better and worse. From losing trust to building up hidden resentments, we'll discuss the most common mistakes we make, like talking too much when we should be quiet, revealing things that should stay private, or just saying so much that our actions get overlooked. If you've ever felt like you're drifting apart from someone because of what you said, I picked this word for you in this video. We're going to look at changes in communication and the most important connections in your life. So, if you're ready to discover the power of silence and learn to use your words mindfully, stick with me. By the end of this video, you'll see that often saying less is the key to achieving more. Let's start by looking at what's happening around us. How many times have you been in a conversation where instead of really listening, you were just waiting for your turn to speak, or felt distant from others because you weren't really present? People at the conversation believed that real human connection comes from the ability to listen and think before speaking. Think about it. When you're not paying attention to what's happening around you, you're not just missing important details, you're also starting to lose that close connection with the people who matter to you. The philosopher Epictetus said that what separates us from others isn't just what we say, but what we don't hear. If we're too focused on what we want to say or lost in our own thoughts, we shut ourselves off from the world around us. Imagine you're at a family gathering. In a conversation with friends, instead of really listening, you're busy thinking about your response, your opinion, or something completely unrelated to what's being discussed. Gradually, you drift away from the conversation, lose touch, and your relationships with the people around you start to weaken. You become distant from their emotions and thoughts, and even worse, they can feel that distance too. So let me ask you, how many times have you noticed that you weren't really listening? Maybe it was an important chat with a friend or a deep talk with a family member. And more importantly, how did that make you feel? Do you think about how not being able to listen affects your relationships? Not really paying attention creates misunderstandings and breaks down mutual respect. People can feel pushed away. When someone else is talking, you need to tune into their world, their feelings and thoughts. That strengthens your connection. Next time you find yourself in a conversation, take a moment to ask yourself if you're actually listening or just waiting for your turn to speak. If it's the latter, try to let go of that urge to jump in. Instead, make a conscious effort to be present and engaged. Truly listening will change your connection with others. Silence isn't empty. It's filled with attention, respect, and understanding. Remember, listening is a form of respect. By being present in a conversation without filling it with your own words, you show that what the other person says matters to you. This not only strengthens your relationships, but also gives you the chance to learn more about others. When you feel yourself drifting away from people, practice silence. Listen carefully without interrupting or getting distracted, and you'll be amazed at how powerful it is. You can reconnect with people when you let silence and attention guide your interactions. Lesson 2. You'll make those around you uncomfortable if you speak without a filter. You'll instantly notice how the vibe changes, as if everyone suddenly feels uneasy or tense because of what you said. We really believed in the power of controlling our words because once they're out there, you can't take them back. Seneca said, "Speak only when your words are better than silence." Think about that. When we talk without holding back, we're not just throwing words into the air. We're also sharing our thoughts, opinions, and feelings without really thinking about how they might affect others. If we don't think about what we say before we say it, We might end up causing discomfort, misunderstanding, or even hurt without meaning to. Imagine you're having a conversation with friends or colleagues, and you make a sarcastic comment or come off a bit too blunt. You might not realize it at the time, but soon you notice that the people around you start to act more cautiously. The atmosphere feels tense, and that's the impact of speaking without a filter. Unknowingly, you create a barrier between yourself and others. Let me ask you this. How many times have you seen a conversation go south because of an inappropriate comment or unnecessary words? You might have thought you were being honest or that it didn't matter, but in reality, you've sown anxiety and confusion among those around you. When that happens, relationships suffer. Trust takes a hit, and people start to distance themselves, or at least become more cautious. You know how they say in your circles that before you speak, you should think it through. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that not everything we think needs to be said. If it doesn't benefit the hive, it doesn't benefit the bee either. In other words, our words should be useful not just for us, but for those around us. Speaking without a filter might feel like a way to express yourself, but if we don't care about how and when we do it, we could end up causing a lot of stress and distancing ourselves from others. Music inevitably causes harm, even if that wasn't your intention. The next time you feel the urge to say the first thing that pops into your head, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this necessary? Will it improve the conversation or the situation? If the answer is no, then it's probably better to stay quiet and wait for the right moment. Not every truth needs to be spoken right away or in any form. Sometimes silence or a more thoughtful response can prevent a lot of tension. Remember, words carry weight. Once you say them, you can't take them back. You can take them back if you're speaking without a filter. You can hurt people without realizing it. But if you practice self-control and reflection, your words will have the power to build rather than destroy. People will start to trust you more, and instead of causing worry, you'll earn respect and admiration. Lesson 3. When you spill other people's secrets, you show how a lack of restraint can hurt those close to you. How many times have you shared personal info with someone only to find out they told others? And how many times have you found yourself in that situation? When you accidentally stumble upon information about the consequences, Stoics deeply valued loyalty and restraint because they understood that trust is one of the most fragile pillars of any relationship. As Seneca said, when you spill someone else's secrets, you lose the trust of everyone. Think about that. When you share someone else's secrets, you not only betray the trust of a close person, but also risk permanently ruining your relationship with them. Once trust is broken, it's hard to repair. And what's worse is that it also affects how others see you. When you don't, when you hold back, you're sending a clear signal that you can't be trusted. Imagine a friend confiding in you about something personal. Maybe it's emotionally heavy or a tough situation in their life. Then, in a casual chat with others, you mention it without thinking, just to keep the conversation going, or because you think it's not a big deal. But you've exposed a part of your friend they didn't want to share, and that kind of breach can seriously damage your relationship with them. Most likely, those who heard this will start to lose trust in you. Now let me ask you, how many close relationships have fallen apart because of a lack of self-control? You might not have had bad intentions, but this revelation affected not just the person whose secret you spilled. It also made others more cautious about what they share with you. If you leak one secret, how can they know you won't do the same with theirs? The philosophy of Stoicism teaches us to guard not only our own secrets, but also those entrusted to us. Epictetus said that silence is way more valuable when it protects someone else's privacy. The staff knew that restraint isn't just a virtue, but a responsibility. Choosing not to wreck a relationship is simple but powerful. The art of respecting the stories we hear is meant to be shared, and often the best way to honor those relationships is to keep what we've been entrusted with. When you're in a conversation and feel tempted to share something a close person confided in you, just pause for a moment and ask yourself if they'd be okay with it. Can I share this information without breaking this person's trust? If the answer is no, the wisest choice is to stay quiet. You'll not only protect their personal boundaries, but also strengthen your relationship with them. So next time someone close shares something important with you, practice keeping it to yourself or guiding the conversation. Being able to keep secrets is what truly makes you trustworthy and respected. Lesson 4. There's a lot of talk but not much action. The result is too much noise. How many times have you heard someone make big promises or talk about what they're going to do, only to find out they never followed through? Or how many times have you, all fired up, talked a big game about your plans, but then couldn't make them happen? The Stoics believed that actions speak louder than words, and they warned against the danger of talking too much without taking action. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Get to work. Don't just say you're going to do something, just do it." Think about that when you start rambling. When you talk about what you're planning to do, you're not just building expectations for others, but for yourself too. You fill yourself up with promises and all this noise, but if you don't take action, those words fade away quickly, leaving a bad impression. Talking too much without backing it up with action disappoints people and erodes their trust in you. In the end, who's going to believe someone who always talks but rarely follows through? Imagine at work or in your personal life, you're always saying you're going to do something. Start a project to improve some aspect of your life or make an important decision. At first, those who listen to you can get excited about your plans. But if that enthusiasm doesn't turn into action, over time, you start losing trust. Words without actions are just empty noise, and when that noise becomes the norm, people stop taking you seriously. Now, let me ask you this. How many times have you found yourself in that situation? Maybe you got caught up in a new idea and shared it with everyone. But when it came time to take action, you faced difficulties. You either got stopped or lost interest, or maybe you saw others talking a lot, but not doing much. The result is always the same. A lot of talk can hurt your reputation and affect your self-esteem, because when you don't follow through on your promises, you're letting yourself down too. Stoics taught that true value isn't in what we say, but in what we do. As Seneca said, don't talk about what you're going to do, just do it. Let your actions speak for themselves, because real progress happens through action. Making changes earns you respect from others and strengthens your own sense of achievement and determination. Carrying out what you set out to do without making a big fuss brings satisfaction and boosts your reliability. The next time you feel tempted to share your plans or talk too much about what you're going to do, stop. I do more than I say. If the answer is yes, think about whether it's better to stay quiet and just take action. You don't need anyone's approval or encouragement to accomplish something. Your actions speak for themselves. Actions speak for themselves. Respect and admiration will come naturally without needing to make promises. Remember, the noise of empty words fades quickly, but the impact of your actions lasts. People will stop trusting you, but if you let your achievements do the talking, you'll earn respect and trust effortlessly. You don't need to announce your plans to prove your worth. True value shows in what you do, not in what you say you'll do. Think twice before acting without considering the consequences. You know how sometimes you say something in a moment of frustration or without thinking, and then realize your words hurt someone? Have you noticed how just one careless comment can ruin relationships that took years to build? The Stoics believed that thoughtless words have a tremendous power to destroy, and they can break the most important connections in our lives. Seneca warned that our words are like fire. Once they ignite, they can burn everything around us if we don't keep them in check. Think about that. When we speak without thinking, we're not just taking a risk. Sometimes we say things that don't really reflect how we feel, but they can deeply hurt the people we love the most. Words thrown out without thinking hit like swords, instantly damaging valuable relationships. The painful part is that once you've hurt someone, you can't take it back. Imagine this. You're arguing with someone you care about, and in the heat of the moment, you say something hurtful that you'd never say if you took a second to think about the consequences. You might regret it right away, but the damage is already done. No matter how much you try to fix it later, the trust and closeness you had are already shattered. Sometimes, words said in the heat of the moment can break the most important connections in our lives. So let me ask you, how many times have you messed up important relationships without thinking first? It might not seem like a big deal at first, but over time, these little incidents pile up and can completely ruin a relationship. We've got to learn the importance of thinking before we speak. Epictetus insisted that we should be masters of our words and always ask ourselves if what we're about to say will bring peace or conflict. If the answer is conflict, then silence is the better choice. Taking a moment to think before speaking not only prevents unnecessary arguments, but also strengthens our connections with others, showing that we value our relationships enough to be careful with our words. The key to avoiding the breakdown of important relationships lies in learning to control our emotions. Thinking about the impact of what we say doesn't mean we should hold back or hide our feelings. It's about being mindful and considering the situation. Taking a moment to breathe and think before speaking can be the deciding factor in whether it strengthens or weakens a relationship. Next time you feel the urge to say something during an argument or stressful moment, pause for a second and ask yourself if those words will help or hurt the relationship. If they don't bring anything positive, maybe it's worth reconsidering. In moments like these, staying silent can protect both you and the other person. Remember, words have power. They can build bridges between people, but they can also tear them down. Relationships that have lasted for years can be shattered by one wrong word said at the wrong time. But when you take control of your words, showing respect and thoughtfulness, your connections with others grow stronger and thrive. Lesson 6. You reveal what should stay hidden. You might have regretted revealing someone's secret or sharing sensitive info without realizing the damage it could cause. Stoics understood that true power lies in controlling your words, and some things need to stay hidden for the sake of our relationships and peace of mind. Seneca clearly stated that what shouldn't be said is better left unsaid. Think about it. There are times in life when a careless remark can expose confidential information or a secret that wasn't yours to share. Talking or saying something that was supposed to stay private can really backfire when we don't watch what we say. We risk spilling secrets that should have stayed hidden, and this simple act can change everything. Sometimes, the cost of not controlling our words is way higher than we think. Imagine you're chatting with friends or family and accidentally mention something someone told you in confidence. You might not have meant any harm. You were just trying to keep the conversation going. But what you did was reveal something that should have stayed under wraps. In private, you realize you've betrayed this person's trust, even if you didn't mean to. What seemed like a simple conversation turns into an awkward and painful situation. The consequences of revealing a secret can be devastating, not just for your relationship, but also for how others see you. Let me ask you this. How many times have you seen relationships or delicate situations get messy because someone said too much and spilled something they shouldn't have? Maybe it's happened to you too. I witnessed how something personal became public for no reason, which led to tension, misunderstandings, or even a breakup. The cost of not controlling our words can be losing others' trust, and getting that trust back is really tough. The Stoics taught us the importance of wisdom. They advised that when you're unsure whether to speak or not, it's often better to stay silent. In other words, not everything we know needs to be shared. There are boundaries we should respect, both to protect others and to shield ourselves. Think about the consequences of revealing things that shouldn't be said. Should we keep quiet about what needs to stay hidden? What impact will our words have? Is this info really important for the conversation? Does it belong to the person here, or is it someone else's secret? If there's even the slightest doubt, it's usually better to just stay silent. Sometimes, the smartest thing we can do is to keep to ourselves what we know. When you're in a conversation and feel tempted to spill something you shouldn't, just pause for a moment. Ask yourself if this information is really yours to share. If the answer is no, hold back. Keeping a secret or personal info not only shows respect for others, but also protects your relationships and strengthens the trust people have in you. Lesson 7. You'll lose people's respect if you don't know when to shut up. How many times have you seen someone lose respect because they can't stop talking, don't let others speak, or don't know when to stop? Since you realized you should have shut up earlier but figured it out too late, the Stoics taught that knowing when to be quiet is a key virtue. Epictetus said that wisdom isn't about talking a lot, it's about saying what's necessary. Think about that. When you talk too much without considering the moment or context, you not only wear people out, but knowing when to be quiet and listen earns you respect because it shows self-control, humility, and consideration for others. Meanwhile, those who are always trying to dominate the conversation, speaking without filters creates distance, and their words gradually lose value. Imagine you're at a family gathering or hanging out with friends, and there's that one person who always has to jump in, interrupting others and feeling the need to chime in on every topic, even when it's not necessary. At first, it might seem harmless, but over time, people start to avoid their opinions and tune out what they're saying. It's because that person talks too much and doesn't know when to shut up. People around them lose interest. Because of what he says, and what's worse, people are starting to lose respect for him. Let me ask you this. People often lose the attention and respect of those around them when they don't know when to stop talking. Maybe this has happened to you too. You said something at the wrong time or went on too long, and suddenly you noticed the vibe in the conversation shifted. What felt like just another chat to you might have felt like an invasion of personal space to others. The respect they had for you can start to fade without you even realizing it, as the Stoics taught. Silence is a powerful tool. Marcus Aurelius said that silence, when appropriate, can be just as impactful as well-chosen words. Knowing when to keep quiet and let others speak not only makes you a more considerate person, but also helps you earn the respect of those around you. Silence isn't empty. It can show maturity, intelligence, and self-control. The choice to not lose the respect of others is simple but effective. Say less, listen more. You don't always need to have an opinion on everything or fill awkward silences with words. Sometimes silence is the best way to strengthen relationships and show respect for those around you. People who know when to be quiet are the ones whose words really carry weight and meaning when they do speak. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, whether in a group or with someone close, take a moment to ask yourself, do I really need to say this? If the answer is no, consider using the power of silence. Thoughtful listening instead of speaking without thinking might be the key. To earn respect and recognition from others, what we don't say can be just as important as what we choose to express. Lesson 8. Envy will consume you. If you talk too much, it breeds jealousy. Have you ever noticed that the more you brag about your successes or plans, the more envious looks you get? Have you felt that by sharing too much about your achievements, instead of getting support, you end up surrounded by envy? The Stoics understood that too many words can lead to problems. Especially when people focus too much on themselves, it can stir up jealousy and irritation both in others and in the speaker. Seneca warned that those who talk too much about themselves become slaves to their own words. Think about it. When you're always sharing your achievements, plans, or even your struggles, you're grabbing people's attention. But instead of inspiring admiration or sympathy, you might just trigger negative comparisons or jealousy in others. And what's worse, the more you open up, the more you become vulnerable to criticism and judgment when you talk too much, especially about yourself. It can create a cycle of dissatisfaction that eventually affects your relationships and inner peace. Imagine in a conversation with friends or colleagues, you keep bringing up your recent success, like a promotion at work, a new project, or a big purchase. At first, it might seem like just a positive thing, but as you keep comparing yourself to others, the vibe shifts from what started as a moment of celebration. When we celebrate, it can turn into a breeding ground for envy. That happens when we talk too much about ourselves without realizing it, and we end up fueling the envy of those who are listening. So let me ask you, how many times have you witnessed someone feeling awkward or even jealous? Maybe you've found yourself in a situation where you thought you were sharing something important, but then realized your words pushed people away instead of bringing you closer to them. Being moderate with your words helps you avoid the dangers of pride and vanity. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that success isn't a reason to brag. It's an opportunity for quiet reflection. Instead of filling the air with talk about yourself, the Stoics suggested embracing humility and self-reflection. By talking less about yourself, you not only reduce others' envy, but also protect yourself from the downsides of oversharing. The solution is clear. Say less about yourself and more about others. When you choose not to center every conversation on your achievements or issues, you gain a lot. You're creating a more balanced space where everyone can share and feel heard. This not only reduces the risk of envy, but also strengthens your relationships. The next time you feel tempted to talk at length about your achievements or plans, take a moment to ask yourself if it's really necessary to share it right now. If the answer is no, consider keeping it to yourself or sharing it in a more suitable and intimate setting. Not every success or achievement needs to be shared. Keeping quiet about your successes can shield you from judgment or envy from others. If you've watched the video all the way through, drop a comment saying, "I'm a Stoic," as our secret sign to know you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one, and remember to keep working on yourself.